welcome to Show Up Stand Out Online Visibility Series for Entrepreneurs. My name is Juliette Stapleton. I am a visibility strategist known as the Queen of Visibility, and I'm here to bring you someone very special and really, really awesome. I want to introduce you to Precious Brown. Precious is, she has a huge list of things to her name. Let me just give you a few. She is a transformational speaker, award-winning best-selling author. She is a clarity coach, founder of Precious Empowers Enterprise. I absolutely love this name. And apart from even being featured in loads of online magazines, talk shows, blog shows, virtual summits, she also is a former Nikki Woods Media Brand Ambassador and former contributing author to Courageous Women magazine, and making headline news 2018 Women of the Year. Wow, this is a lot of authority there. This is fantastic. How did you end up doing what you're doing and being all this?
Well, actually, I started originally from the beginning. I started as just wanting to write my book. I wrote a book in 2014, released it in 2014. And then I started being asked to speak at different places to share my story, and it just kind of rolled from there. How I ended up in business clarity is because for 3.5 years, I ran around on a hamster wheel. I was doing, but I wasn't gaining any traction, and I didn't understand why. So I took about 1 million classes. I invested over $50,000 and still was not understanding why I couldn't get clients. And then I just had to do some self-reflection and say, okay, what's missing? And when I sat back and really started thinking about what was missing, I wasn't clear on who I was serving, what results I was getting them, or any of that. So I just took a month and sat back and kind of deciphered through the people that I was helping, because on the front end, I was doing personal development. But on the back end, I was helping all my peers with their business. And I never even thought about making that shift. And once I made that shift, everything opened up. So that's kind of how I got to this point.
It's an interesting thing while you were talking. So it's a catch-22, right? You can be either doing something, but you're either like yourself, you're just not realizing that perfect combination is just there. You're just not looking at it to keep doing these things. And it's like a hamster in the wheel. Things are not happening, but you keep doing them, but it's like, if you're walking into a wall, you can continue changing, your feet are walking, but you're not moving anywhere. Or you can be on the other opposite end, where you're not doing because you're afraid that you're not clear and you're not doing. However, as you said, you need to already be doing things and talk to people and see who you're attracting, see how it fits, and then clarity just happens. But of course, focusing on that clarity while you are taking action, so important, and a huge difference between doing something just without analyzing what is actually happening, and that can be very discouraging too.
Yeah, the analyzation is one of the most important parts of this whole process, be it visibility, clarity, elevation, or whatever piece of the process you're in. You always have to take that time to analyze, reevaluate, and restructure when needed. Because a lot of times we get married to our particular thing, right? Our particular thing that we want to do. This is what they need. And it's not really what they want. I tell my clients all the time, are you giving them what you think they should have? Or are you giving them what they say they want?
Sometimes it's the same thing, isn't it? They just don't call it the same name. Sometimes it's such a little shift as just packaging that thing that you're doing in different words and slightly different angle, and it's essentially will be still the same thing. But
absolutely,
you're right. I love the fact that you get married to what you decided you're going to do. So much time can be wasted. I know people who are making programs, recording videos and everything for something, and then it doesn't sell and they get so upset, but they never even asked if anyone wants this.
Right. Absolutely. Another key piece to becoming clear, or once you're doing, because I totally agree with you, you have to be doing something or you won't know that you're not clear. But a huge piece to that is people don't want to do market research.
Oh, yeah.
And that is key to understanding your client. Like, if you don't do market research to ask specific questions in order to get the information that you need to use, the data that you need to compile and create messaging and copy and all these other things, then you're still going to be on that wheel. You can be crystal clear and not done any market research, and you're still not going to attract people because it's their words that make them respond.
Oh, this is so true. You know what I noticed? It's like with every industry and with marketing, we have certain words that we're using, and these words can be very confusing for people who are entering this space. For example, marketing research, or data. And I know myself, because my brain doesn't, I'm not an analyst by nature, so I have to do intuitive analysis, which is still a great way to do it. So in terms of marketing research, can we break it up into plain English for those who get freaked out by it?
Okay, and thank you for that, because I'll go in corporate, I did analysis all the time. So in my head, it just is normal words, right? So
me too at this stage, absolutely. I agree with you 100%. But because we actually know exactly what it means, so we can use that phrase.
Right.
In the beginning, when you say, did you do any marketing research? And I have people looking at me with absolutely terrified that I even asked them this, because they think maybe, I don't know what it is, they imagine themselves like huge spreadsheets with all this data, and it's like being in the Matrix and not seeing and just freaks them out.
Right. No, well, simply put, market research is simply asking a few people. I always tell my clients, ask 5 to 10 people that you identify as your ideal client, specific questions, so that you can get information from them. So if you ask 5 to 10 people and you're getting a consistent answer from the same, okay, what are you struggling with? What keeps you woke at night? What is it that you would like in your ideal world? What would a perfect relationship look like? If you're a relationship strategist, what would a perfect relationship look like for you? And then you getting the same answer from 5 to 10 people, gather that information and begin to use their words that they gave you in your posts, in your copy being, your ads or the post or your emails, or just use their words when you're speaking to them. So that's what market research is. I know when I say it to my clients, they do the same thing, like, no. And I'm like, okay, so I created a spreadsheet and I give them 4 questions. 4 questions basically gets all of the information that they need to collect. And then we just go through and decipher it so that when she's speaking, her client hears her. And I say her because I work with women mostly.
Yeah, and of course, this is a very good point. A lot of people are afraid that when they say something, they're afraid to talk to one person. It's called one person. You're not really talking to one person. It's your ideal clients will always have this thing that overlaps and they share, right? So it's like that type. But when you're talking back, it's so scary for some people to just say that one thing or just use those words. But what about others? And what if I speak too plainly? I want to sound so articulate because I'm an educated person. Look at my CV. I have all these qualifications, and I have to use the big words. But your client actually doesn't understand the big words. Simply like we're talking about the market research and people who come work with us and they don't understand what it means. And in plain English, we're talking about clarity here. We just made it so clear how to get this information. And in terms of how to get this information, get people on calls, ask them to fill a survey with a few questions, which are, like, there's so many ways that you can do this. And then you can get clarity. You can get clarity with this. But talking back and using these words is in your videos is absolutely powerful thing. And at the end of the day, when you're doing it and just repeat yourself, I don't mean in the same video, but I mean in the series of that, yeah, that would be weird. That would be just weird. But this is all about repetition. I noticed this, if you follow anyone, say I follow John Assaraf. And John Assaraf does on his business page every Tuesday, he does this hour-long video. But if you watch those videos all the time, say for 2 months or 3 months, you will see that the topics that he is bringing every theme into, there's only about 4 or 5 topics. He's actually saying the same thing over and over and over and over again. And that's what you should be doing, to be clear, and using the words and using, bringing everything that might be related to those issues that you've discovered. Mm-hmm. And you can keep talking over and over and over again. So that's a really, really good, I think that we've just clarified a very good thing about the market research. Is there any other mistakes in your experience, that commonly that people make when they start coaching and they just can't get clarity, that they're not doing market research is one of them? What else?
Another one is, like you said, not wanting to leave out anybody. And I'm a firm believer is when you talk to everybody, you're talking to no one.
It's
so
true.
You have to really, and like you said, the ideal client isn't just one person, it's one type of person. And that was my thing. I'm like, oh, but what about these women? And what about these women? Okay, but you can't help all of those women. You have to go for your type. And yes, others will be drawn to you naturally, just based on who you are, what you say, and they may not readily identify with what you're saying, but something you say perks their ears up. So now they're listening to what you're saying. So that's one thing. And then another thing is your piece, just getting visible. Take the plunge. It doesn't matter if everything you're saying isn't perfectly articulate. It doesn't matter if, you don't have the perfect lighting. Lighting is important though, but it doesn't matter. Just do it. I tell my clients all the time, because I work with new and aspiring entrepreneurs, and they're like, oh, I'm gonna go live. And I tell them all the time, your greatest reach is going to come from your videos.
That is true.
If you get visible on video, you will reach more people than you could reach in a week going door to door, or, however you want to do it the old way. So,
absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Can I just add to this, guys, about the video? First of all, it reaches more people. Just naturally, Facebook shows to more people. Then it's interactive, so you can ask people to drop you something in the comments. Just something small, a number or something. But that creates loads of comments. So your goal is to create more comments. Then Facebook will start pushing your video out even to more people, even as you are live. But while you're doing, it's so important that done is better than perfect here, because. Mm-hmm. It took me 2 years to look like this. I just ran a live video challenge, and somebody in the live video challenge dug out my old video, but 1.5 years old. Terrible. And I was a little bit terrified, because it's not that I keep them there deliberately, because you should see the difference, but it was just so irrelevant to what I'm saying right now. But that worked so well, because they were shocked at the transformation. Mm-hmm. You can't compare yourself to somebody who's done things for a while, because they've already figured out what's the nice backdrop, how to put the light, what to say, even the speed of how we speak on the video. When you start, it's always slower and you lose the track of thoughts. I still lose the track of thoughts, which is fine.
I always have notes.
Well, yeah, you know what? Even with bullet points, you can go on the rant and then forget what you actually started the rant on. That's what happens to me. But I find that you just learn to deal with these things, and that doesn't throw you off, or it doesn't stop you from doing more. But with video, you see so much more than with other things. Non-verbal communication, how we gesticulate, how we smile, our eyes, you can feel our energy. It's the gold mine, and it's the fastest for the cash generation as well when you make your offers right.
Absolutely. And you can use it as a tool to go back and maybe transcribe. If you're creating a book, because I started again writing and publishing. I'm a self-publisher as well. And if you're writing a book, you can use that material, get it transcribed. And that's another way that you become the expert. You reach your ideal client. You vendor, you have books. Now people are asking what you do. It's so many different ways that we can grow as business women.
Oh, absolutely. Repurposing as well, in terms of repurposing, it's not about producing unique content all the time, every time you go, but it's about being consistent and just being there everywhere as much as you. So being visible is being omnipresent. And yes, as you just said, transcribe your videos. There's even free online transcribe tools. Yes, it will take you an hour maybe editing, but it's still not producing a unique type of content. If you're doing, you can also rip your audio. You can upload, there's free online tools. You can upload your video and take the audio, and that's your podcast. There's so much you can do with that. I love that tip, actually. And there's that's something a lot of people not thinking, and they're thinking that they have to commit and spend hours producing all this content, but you kind of can combine things, and there's so many tricks, like you just mentioned.
Absolutely.
But it builds your authority constantly. Yeah.
Yes. One of the things that I think about is when you were talking about the gentleman that repeats. A lot of times people think that you have to come up with something new. No, you just have to make everything relate to the main topic, is what I tell my clients. Make it relate to your main topic. Because if your main topic is overcoming fear of some sort, then everything you talk about relates to that topic. You don't have to use all of the same words, because you may come across an article that you were reading and you just want to share some information. Make it relate to what you do. That's not, and you repeat it so that people that didn't hear you may be watching, and now you share that nugget again. But it takes us several times before we have that aha moment, before it clicks. So it's very important that you stay in that vein of sharing and resharing and resharing and resharing information, because a lot of times people don't get it the first time.
It is so true.
How many times you have to learn your ABCs, and that's being simple as it gets. How many times did you have to review those 26 letters in order to understand them? Or if you're learning new words, how many times did you have to go over that word, that meaning of that word, before it clicked for you? It's the same thing in presenting your content.
Absolutely, 100%. In fact, I was reading these statistics that every time, every time you hear something or something comes into your attention, it only penetrates your mind once in 3 times. Right? And for you to take somebody who you are producing content to through the buying decision, so through that trust process, you have to penetrate their mind at least 9 times. That's 27 appearances, or 27 times saying something, and this is where structuring your videos, where you say, for example, your tagline, where you very clearly associate yourself, is so important, and repeat it in the middle and repeat it at the end. That reminded me of the other biggest mistake that a lot of people make when they produce content or talk or anything, is that they just assume that it's not assumption, but you have to stop thinking that people on the other side, or people who read your content, are going to do a lot of things necessary for, go to my profile and click on that link. They're not going to do this, right? You have or something. Every time you require them to think a little bit. So you're saying something and it's kind of not very clear what you're saying, but you're like, oh, they're gonna get me. They're getting a message. Simplifying your language, making sure it's very plain, and repeating it a few times through the content is so important for this clarity and understanding, because we are so distracted. And
absolutely.
Yeah, I actually myself, I sometimes somebody will ask a question in the group and I'll look at it, and because we're so distracted, especially on screen, when we're on screens, we're scanning, we're not reading, I will just see half of the sentence, start answering, and sometimes even hit reply. And then I realized that what they asked me was completely different. And sometimes it could be even a dodgy what I've replied, comparing. Because we're not thinking, we've no time to think, too much distraction with information. And as someone who produces content as well, that's another big mistake, isn't it? That just not making it clear and simple. There's a link in the comment, or this is what you do. Break it all up, because other than that, there's just a mess. And we're talking about getting clarity.
And the more simplified you make it, I believe the easier it penetrates.
Oh yes.
So if you are speaking on camera or speaking at an event, if you simplify it, it's not that people won't understand the higher level. I just think it penetrates easier and faster if you simplify.
Because it's 100% right.
We live in a world of fast and ready. So people want content fast and ready. I want to be able to just digest it immediately when you give it to me. I don't want to have to think about it. I don't want to have to process it. I don't want to have to do anything except for hear it and then do. So just keep that at the forefront of your mind when you're producing content. Exactly.
A lot of people who are, I don't remember the name who I read this from, but a caveman test. Whereas if the caveman stares, say on the website, if the caveman stared on your website for 15 seconds, would they grunt, I want it, or they don't want it? That's as simple as that. So I know we're educated, I know we spend a lot of time, and it just, it feels good, but I agree. Simple words penetrate faster. So then people can get to know you more, maybe on the next level, which is outside social media and outside your first point of contact or your interviews that you're giving or anything like that. Then when they get into your business, then you can hit them with more terminology, or when they get much closer to you. That's what I think is important to have. No, it doesn't undermine your intelligence. And it doesn't undermine you. Yeah, I think that the more simpler you are, first of all, people will there's always people, I find, with every coaching, I think, level, no matter how educated you are, you're always higher than who is coming to you, right? For them, your level of intelligence, the words you know and everything, for them, that's sometimes unattainable. And you're missing out.
Absolutely. I agree. You're missing out on helping someone when you stay up here with your language instead of coming down here. I agree.
That's so true. In your own opinion, what are the best ways to be visible? Like, what are the strategies that you see? Maybe you have like a list of things that help you to stay visible, or your clients. Do you have this kind of like, okay, I do this like a checklist or anything like that you implement in your own visibility?
I don't have a checklist. I just kind of do it. I stay visible on video a lot. Another thing I do is write as a contributing author to various online spaces, whether it's a magazine or a blog, but writing definitely keeps me visible, because if you look up my name, you'll see different things. So definitely writing, definitely video, and then I like to network. Networking keeps you visible, whether it's online networking or offline. It keeps you visible. Those are the three things that I do regularly. I attend events that maybe my client is at, maybe not. I may meet somebody that I can network with, that I can collaborate with, that I probably wouldn't have met. I don't go to a networking function, and this is something I tell my clients. Don't go to a networking function with the intent of finding a client. Go with the intent of meeting someone that you may collaborate with.
I love that. It's so applicable to Facebook. Oh my God, I myself, I hate going to business networking events because everybody's there trying to get clients, and you know, they are not most of the time not thinking, well, at least where the ones that I've attended, which I stopped. But the thing is that we have to have a different perspective. So when you're on Facebook, for example, your networking is just commenting on other people's posts. Some of them might be, you wouldn't even know that, but some of them might be actually interested in what you have to offer, and just through this collaboration, by supporting them, acknowledge that they wrote this post, you know, even you might have not even read the whole thing, but just put something there, you know, let them know that it's all worth it, and you know, the exchange the energy and network in that kind of way. And of course, when you see somebody, it's like Precious came to my group, and I just knew there and then, you know, that we're going to collaborate at some level, and this interviews ways, and she did an expert training in my group as well, because I just knew, you know, this is and it's the energy thing as well, and that's how you meet people. But you never know unless you go and you engage. So the same way, if you don't, I don't have any events, I can visit here, right? I actually did my business from this corner of this room, which is also just putting it out there, because I know a lot of people saying, but I don't have to, like, I don't have an option to go to an event. It's possible you don't have to, but that's what you do instead. You network like there's no tomorrow. Use 20 minutes a day, 15 minutes a day. It's all about just doing it in blocks of time. It's not going to take over your life, I promise. But it's brilliant what you said. Have a different perspective. Don't connect to people because you want them to buy from you. Connect with people because you might have a collaboration. Maybe they don't need what you are offering, but their friend needs this, and they will be the ones recommending you.
Absolutely, absolutely. Another thing about sharing information or commenting on posts, I really, like I told you, I said I was scrolling by and I was like, oh, I like her colors.
And I was the same as the colors. I was like, whoa, I love this woman.
I said, I like her colors. And when I came in and you allowed me in the group, and I look around and I was like, wow, I like what she's doing. And then when what did I try to purchase from you? And you were like, you don't need this.
Oh yes, yeah. I ran a live video challenge, and of all people, then I woke up and there's this sale notification from Precious. I'm saying, Precious, you don't need a live video challenge.
In that instance, I was like, oh my gosh, she has such integrity. Like, that spoke volumes to me. So you never know when you are networking online, you don't have to go offline. I know I have several colleagues that all they do is online, period. They don't speak at any other events. All their speaking engagements are online. Everything they do is online, and that's absolutely fine. But I'm a social butterfly. I love to be, in the midst for that energy that you were talking about. So just be mindful of how you show up. And the last thing I want to say is be consistent. Not consistently inconsistent. Be consistent. If you're showing up once a week on Facebook, do that. If you're showing up twice a week, 3 times a week, whatever schedule you set, maintain it. And I'm not saying it has to be perfect all the time, but just be consistent. I see so many inconsistencies, and then you wonder why you're not visible. You're wondering why you're not selling, why your ideal client won't come, because you do it for a month consistently and then you're off 6 months. Everybody has forgotten who you are.
Oh, absolutely.
So you have to be consistent.
I'm going to add to this, and this is an important point for anybody who, if you don't understand why is this happening? Because social media content is disposable content. It's not that if I write a post today, a month later or 2 months later, I'm struggling to even find that post, because imagine we have 2 billion users, right? There's 80 million pages, and then 2 billion just users, and everybody posts. Some people post insane amounts, and some brands and pages post insane amount of posts. So we get buried. And this is where to stay visible, we have all these tricks and commenting and all these kind of little strategies that we have to stay on top, because the idea is that you're just literally, it's like a quicksand and you're drowning. And if you see a piece of content that you wrote that, you know, you put so much heart into it, a lot of artists are like that. They paint a picture and then, you know, that's it. Or sometimes authors are like that. They write a book and that's it. They have no energy now to promote it because they put everything into that. And they're like, how come the world just didn't come all at once and bought it from me? Because, you know, it doesn't work like that. Because you have to be visible, and quantity is so important. Even, you know, if you commit to something once a week, to be honest with you, in 2019, once a week is not going to be seen. Too much going on. It's not going to be seen. You have to be there once a day at least. It doesn't have to be a video, but if you want to grow fast, do video every day. That's the fastest way of building authority, connection, a network of people, and just showing them who you are and giving that energy. And just like Precious just said, you know, we can just see a color. Sometimes it could be so little simple thing, nothing to do with business. Nothing to do with business, but something, you know, a haircut. You like somebody's haircut. You're like, oh, I love this woman's hair. You know, and that's it. Next thing you know, you're following them. That's how it works. We're human. We're here on the social party. And, you know, you need to remember that when you have that, you don't hang on. And by the way, if you're writing a good post, make sure you save it somewhere else, because that could be a blog post. You can repurpose it, you know, but just don't think that it's going to be there forever on Facebook. And just because you wrote something great last month, today, nobody knows. And nobody remembers. They're bombarded all the time. Nobody remembers. And so it's a staying power game. It's a staying power. If you're there, if you're staying, like McDonald's ads, I always say, McDonald's ads, right? On the side of the bus, on the bus stop or anywhere. It's not to sell, it's just to be there. So next time somebody's peckish, if they are someone who would likely to go to McDonald's, they're definitely going to go to McDonald's because it's just there all the time. If they stop advertising, if they stop that awareness advertisement, they will start losing sales because people will just not think about them as much. You know, in a few years, nobody will think about them like association, you know, fast food McDonald's. And that's what you need to do. And yes, it's hard and it's a lonely journey. And every day you have to push yourself and you have to push through resistances. But that's the name of the game, because if you want to grow your business, you have to put some hard work in.
I totally agree 100%. It does get hard, and it does. Sometimes I just did a video on, sometimes you just want to throw in the towel. But in that instance, I always encourage people to think about their why. Why are you doing it? Why did you start the business? What impact are you making? Why? Why? Before you throw in the towel, ask yourself why.
That's true. That's true. And also ask yourself, did you actually do everything you had to do? And did you actually knock on every door that needed to be knocked on? And did you actually commit to it, or were you just interested? And then it doesn't work because you didn't put the full heart to it. I blame myself for any, if there's no progress, I know who to blame. I don't blame and shame, but I know who is responsible. So I take responsibility. If I don't reach out and talk to somebody on Messenger, if I don't post it today, if I don't do this, nobody will. And when you take responsibility for your business, for your life, like that if you don't do it, nobody will for you, but you can create your life and co-create your life. You know, you have the support of bigger powers in this life, and you can achieve this. But if something is not happening, maybe you didn't do what was required. That's a big thing. And yes, think about your why. When it's hard and you are doing what's required, always think about your why.
Absolutely.
And take a day off and go and switch off and come back.
It's so important in this process. Self-care, being very aware of you, not just who am I type aware, but aware of when you're tired, when you're hungry, because I can sit at this computer and I'll look up and it's 4 o'clock like, oh my goodness, I didn't eat, because you can get so engulfed in it. So be aware of you. If you're having a different ache or pain, if you are, you know, if your eyes are starting to get blurry faster, pay attention to that, because self-care, if you take care of you, you'll go a lot further.
That is absolutely brilliant. a brilliant way of ending this interview, to be honest with you, because it all comes down to self-care. Whatever you do, when you put yourself first and you care about yourself first, everything aligns. You accelerate, everything just comes to you in a flow. But you do need to make sure that you're not abusing yourself, because if you're not there, then none of this will be. Right? So yeah, so definitely. So thank you so much for this reminder, Precious. It was really, really important.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Well, I know that there's people who met you already in my group, and they were so impressed and they just loved you so much. Maybe because I'm attracting people who are like me and I loved you so much straight away. See how it works. So if somebody watching this video first time, they saw it, said Precious is the real deal, I want to follow her, where do they go?
I am on Facebook all over the place as Precious Empowers. My business page is Precious Empowers Enterprise. And then I also have a community, Entrepreneurs on the Rise. So those are the two places that I hang out most.
Perfect. Well, I'm going to drop a link to your page and to your community in the description to this video. So we'll make it very, very easy for anybody to go and join the group or be part of your world. Thank you so much again, Precious, for being my lovely guest today. I really enjoyed our conversation.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. And guys, thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions for Precious, drop them in the comments and we'll get back and we will tag you, her or me, or share with us. Share, maybe you had some aha moments here. I would really appreciate that too. And I will see you next week in another episode of Show Up, Stand Out. Until then, see you later.